There you go.
You gotcha.
Hey, how you doing, bro?
Not too bad. Not too bad. No, I'm just giving this whole Zoom thing a shot. Everybody else seems to be doing it during the lockdown, so I thought I'd give it a go and catch up with a few of our friends and make some videos for my site, perhaps do some content and all that, and
cool. Yeah.
How are the folks in Hawaii? How's things going there?
Everyone's freaking out, kind of thing, and it's kind of the same everywhere. Our governor wants to close down the airports, which they say we can't do because the governor doesn't have that power.
Right.
Everybody comes visits over here. They have a 2-week mandatory quarantine in their hotel room now.
Yep. Yeah, we don't allow anybody into the country in or out. So.
Oops. Okay, sorry, I hit the button. You guys, that's good. That's what we should be doing here too.
Total lockdown, yeah.
Total lockdown is good, but I mean, I've been locked down for 3 weeks. I'm going nuts already with my kids and everybody. I go drive to go to the store, and there's like so many people that are trying to continue life like normal, even though nowhere is open. They're just driving around, going to the market, gas station. It's like, good Lord.
And you still have to wait in queues? Like here, we have to have a 2-meter distance between people if you're waiting in a queue.
Yeah, not yet. We don't really, we haven't really done that yet. We did all our shopping before they did that. But like Costco and stuff, yeah, they got a long line. You gotta wait. They let like, I don't know, 20 people into the store at one time.
Yeah. Have you stocked up on toilet paper?
No. We couldn't find any. But we got a lot of people, so we're good.
Oh no, it's crazy worldwide, so we're all sharing this together. It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Toilet paper shortage down there too?
Hey, what's that? Yeah, I thought
there's a shortage of toilet paper.
Could use this opportunity to introduce you to a few of our followers and let people know about you over here.
Cool.
And
cool.
I just realised it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago that I was over there. It didn't seem that long ago, but 2014.
Oh,
yeah, 2014. It's too long. So my wife and I are very keen to come back over, and I think within the next couple of years, hopefully, we'll be back over there for sure.
Oh yeah.
Love the place. Just the vibe, the people, the culture.
Yeah.
Even just I was kind of entranced by the whole environment. It was a whole different culture change for me.
Yeah.
And just hearing the stories that you were passing on to me were fantastic. It was just you guys have a real passion for your ancestry, for your people, and all that. And it was beautiful. It really was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's home.
It is. You're very lucky. And the stories you were telling me, like at the Pali Lookout and all that, and was it the Kaniakapupu, the ruins you took us to?
Yep.
Did I say that right?
Kaniakapupu, yeah.
Kaniakapupu, yeah. The palace ruins, and all the stories. Are you able to share some of those here? Like the Pali Lookout one? There's a couple of stories you said about.
Which one did I tell?
About there's a spirit that attacks people.
Oh, the calling spirit. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the Pali Lookout is. Well, first off, like Hawaii, we don't have much land, so there's so much things everywhere you go. Pali Lookout was the site of one of the last battles to be fought in Hawaii, right? Kamehameha versus the chief of Oahu at the time. And that was the last battle Kamehameha fought to unite the islands. And so right at the Pali Lookout was the ending of the battle. Pali in Hawaiian is cliff, and many, many hundreds of warriors, it was said. Some accounts say hundreds, some accounts say dozens, but they were pushed over a 900-foot drop, falling down to their deaths. So now today it's a beautiful lookout we can go to, and at nighttime you can still hear the conch shell and the drums, and people have reported hearing like battle noises and that kind of stuff. But that's just the lookout area in itself. The years went by, we built a road to go alongside the mountain, right? Now it's a little hiking trail because the road's all derelict because they improved it, right? And you go further and further, and the further away you get from where people would actually access, you get more into the spiritual domain where there's spirits. Over here, especially, there's been stories, there have been occurrences, sightings. I myself have had a few, of spirits that aren't or never were human. In Hawaii, we have what's called the mo'o. The mo'o is a lizard person kind of thing. They dwell in the water, the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, the waterfalls. And for the most part, they just are. They're neutral. But now and again, we do something to earn the ire, I guess you could say, the anger and the wrath of one of them. Such was the case. Dr. Glenn Grant collected a story decades ago. He collected stories from people that lived down here, people that visited down here. Whoever would share with him a story, he would collect it, and he published it in a book called Obake Files. One of the stories was about a guy from the East Coast, I believe. His name was Stephen, in the book anyway. He changes names and stuff, right? Stephen shared with him a story that he was just here like not even a year yet. He went hiking down the old Pali Road, hiking down the Pali Highway, all along the cliffs, beautiful scenic hike, 10 o'clock in the morning. And as he is walking down the road, he's all by himself, just kind of enjoying the views and sights. And coming up, as he goes around one of the turns, one of the ridges, he comes across this woman walking back up while he's walking down. And this woman was this beautiful young Hawaiian girl, right about his age, and she was just drop dead gorgeous. And so he looks at her, gives her a smile, she gives him a smile, and they walk by each other. Then she turns around and calls him by his name. Stephen, is that you? And Stephen's like, oh, she knows me. One of those awkward moments where I don't know her, but she must know me. Forget the name kind of thing. But he played it off. He's cool, And they started talking, and she was like, "Oh, Stephen, are you? Where are you going? You just taking a hike?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm just taking a hike over here." She's like, "Oh, this is your first time down here, isn't it?" He said, "Yeah, it is." She said, "Well, then you know what? Let me take you to a place down there that I know you're gonna love. It's a little bit of a hike, but we can get to a waterfall. We can go swimming in the waterfall." Stephen's like, "Well, I didn't bring the swimsuit." She's like, "That's all right, me neither." And she started flirting with him, and he just kind of like college student, right? He's like, "Yeah, all right." So no question, turns around, starts following this young lady. Back down the road she goes, right? Talking to him the whole time. Their eyes are meeting the whole time. They're just like looking at each other. And she's, of course, just steering the conversation, just telling him everything he wants to hear. And at one part, he kind of stumbles, and they break eye contact because she looks down or turns or something, and as she looks back up, her face completely changed into an old woman. The old woman looks at Stephen and says, "What are you doing? Run!" Then it fades away and it becomes a beautiful young girl again. There was something familiar about that old woman's face, something that Stephen had known. They went down he continued walking down the road, but something didn't feel quite right anymore. So he tried to stop, tried to collect himself, and to his horror, he realized that he no longer had control over his body. He kept walking down, one foot in front of the other, against his will, against everything. And she's talking to him like nothing happens, and they keep going down, and his dread is building in him deeper and deeper and deeper, and he's getting more terrified as they walk down the road. The girl stops again, looks down. She looks back up, the old woman's face, looks back at Stephen and says, "What are you doing? She's gonna kill you. Run!" He takes that moment to stop and break the eye contact, looking at his own feet to stare, to break the, so if she looks up, he's not going to look at her. Looking at his own feet, he looks a little bit in front of his feet, where the girl's feet were. She continues walking over the edge of a cliff. Instead of falling, her legs simply vanish from the knee down, and now she's floating on the air. You can just see that, and he turns around to run out of there. And as he runs all the way back to the lookout, to the parking lot, he can hear her laughter in the background saying, "I'll get you next time, Stephen." It wasn't until he reached the car that he could put a name to that old woman's face. It was his aunt who had passed away years before on the East Coast that came back to save him from this malevolent spirit.
Love that story. I love it. I remember when you were telling us that story, we were standing on the roadway looking down this dark roadway that we went down, and I remember shining my torch down there and thinking, what's down there? What's down there? That's just creepy as. That's brilliant. It was so good. It was so good. Oh no, it's
a lot of
really
things happen down there.
yeah. It's just an amazing place, and just the stories, and just it's so different from any other sort of ghost story that you hear, whether it be in the UK, the US, Australia. Their ghost stories are completely different. So it's a real eye opener for me. It was really good. So tell me, Joe, you used to run you used to work for the Oahu ghost tours many years ago?
Yeah.
You still doing that now?
I used to be one of the guides and drivers. Nah, I stopped in 2012.
Yeah.
It took a lot out of you going back to these places a couple times a week, every week, for years and years and years. You felt the weight get heavier each time. And, I love ghosts and stuff, but being around the paranormal, being around the spirits, even if they're your family, they also, I think they possess a certain kind of energy that if you're around them too much, it's almost like a radiation kind of effect.
Right.
I've kind of, I wouldn't say experimented with it, but I've had a lot of things where I've noticed it. Like, we did an investigation one day, and there were 7 of us at this guy's house. Driving down the road, the EMF meters were in the red. This was old grandfathered wiring. The EMF field was just enormous. We all left when we had hangover for 3 days, all of us. That's just the energy in the air that made us sick. We felt we had a hangover. We just stayed in bed for 2 or 3 days. Now there was a time when there was a time where we went to this rock, this Pohaku over at Judd Trail, a place we like to frequent, Morgan's Corner, tell a lot of ghost stories. Really haunted place there. I love it. Right by the road, so you can park your car, get out, go hunting. No need to walk an hour. You can leave whenever you like. If something happens, just jump in your car and go. But there's a sacred rock down by the river, and years ago, somebody or somebody's graffitied the rock. This rock has carvings on it. This rock is a beautiful rock that, my impression is it has this beautiful, it probably has a mo'o in it, but a good one, right? So me and my friend Mark, we went down there one night with soap and sponge, and we did our best to try and clean the graffiti off of the rock. But in Hawaii, the rocks, the Pohaku, has spiritual power, right? You don't touch rocks. I'm thinking it's no big deal. It's not disrespectful. We're cleaning it, right? It should be good. Man, we both got zapped real hard. He was feeling the effects 3 days, 4 days. I had about 1.5 days, maybe 2, but I'm kind of more used to that kind of energy. I don't think that it was because we stated our intention, we asked our permission. It was more that we were in such close proximity to it and we touched it that it zapped us. Yeah, that's what leads me to think that there may be some kind of radiation kind of thing going on, or some kind of energy thing that doesn't jive well with the living energy. Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah. I've felt the whole sort of EMF. I call it EMF sickness, from being too close to EMF. It does affect you. It gives you headaches, makes you feel dizzy, like you're going to collapse. And I felt that myself, so I know. Yeah, I can imagine 3 days of that. Wow, And you were doing one recently. You did a live feed which I found quite interesting, of this old guy's house, the Pepsi house,
Oh yeah.
or the Coke house, or the Pepsi house, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Is that something you can
that
talk
was
about?
interesting. Yeah, sure. I mean,
Or is it a bit more
we do
private?
Facebook Lives every week. Well, I can't disclose anybody, like the person or the place or where it is, that kind of stuff, because it wasn't even. I'm not allowed to disclose it, you know.
No.
But
It was an interesting one, though. I was
so-
quite fascinated.
Oh yeah. My friend got wind from a property manager. I'm going to change it around a little bit, just the minor details, you know. That there's this room that they can't rent out, but I mean they haven't tried to because it's owned by somebody, right? But the owner hasn't been there in 20 years, kind of thing. And that's the room where his brother had died, and the brother passed it on to the older brother, and now he owns it, but nobody's been there in 20 years. The younger brother who owned it previously died in the living room, and he was a hoarder, or it appeared that he was a hoarder, you know. So I mean, we got to go into this room that's basically untouched for 20 years in a condominium. No power, no water. We got to see the bread loaf still on the counter for 20 years, kind of thing. And it was like all the cockroaches came, and then all the cockroaches left because there wasn't any bugs around. The vibe was heavy. You watched that? Could you feel the vibe?
I did. I watched it. Yeah, I was watching it. I was quite entranced by it. I was just watching the whole thing.
Were you're the first one or the second one? We did one with Doug and Guy. And we did
I watched
one with...
most of the first one and quite a bit of the second one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the first one was, as soon as we came in, it just, you could feel the energy, the vibe, the despair, the loneliness. And then we walked in, and there are just hundreds of cans of Pepsi. And so our guess was that this gentleman died of diabetes, and he was alone in the house. His bed was in his room, and what I found interesting about that, I mean, it was very powerful, probably because it was also very isolated and condensed into one little area. I usually explore outdoors, you know, so it's everywhere, but all that energy was coming up from there. We managed to talk to him through the spirit box, through the app, I think it was, or maybe I used, I can't remember which one it was, whether there was a radio one or the app that I had. But we got to speak to him. He told us his name, which my friend knew his name, to confirm that it was him. And we had asked to cross him, for the angels, the guardians, the guides to cross him over. And then the feeling changed, and it got lighter. You know, we got confirmation that he crossed over. Yeah, that was interesting. That was fascinating, how that all played out, you know?
Yeah, it was a great one.
The second time we went, yeah. Second time we went back there to with a friend, just because why not? Our friends here. You can see stuff. My friend Doug. Doug saw all this black goo. He described it as like black goo, like sap kind of thing, all over the walls. That's all the bad energy. That's what's causing all the feelings and the vibes and all that. And so what he did was that's what saging and blessing a house will remove that kind of stuff, right? And like when we were done, the people watching the live said the place looked lighter, like it physically looked lighter, like it was a brighter light inside there, that kind of stuff. And the feeling was a very peaceful one when we had left the second time as well. It's kind of cool seeing the comparison, you know.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. So, like, how did you get into all this? I mean, at what age did you start getting into the whole spiritual, paranormal sort of scene? I guess.
I grew up with a ghost in my house, and at first he harassed us, and then he became our protector. As is a lot of the stories here in Hawaii. People call me for advice, call me for help, me and my team, that kind of stuff. We go bless houses, you know. It really depends what it is. There's a lot of ghosts here in Hawaii. Usually there's a lot of ancient Hawaiian stuff. Your house is buried over bones, over a Hawaiian graveyard, over, you know, ancient pre-contact bones, you know, that predates Captain Cook kind of thing. And these the bones or the iwi are very important, yeah, to the Hawaiian people, even after they die. And so what happened was our house was buried over a chief. The construction workers found it when they built our house, and they found the short tooth necklace, and they found out that was symbolic of a chief. And they put the bones back, and they buried him again, and right by the sewage line, which is why he wasn't very happy. He wanted to know who the heck we were, what we were doing. So after spending years harassing us, not harming us per se, but scaring us, anger, not pono, not righteous, not good. That's what he was thinking. A Hawaiian priest, the kahuna, came by and talked to us and told my mom and dad, I was a little kid, that the chief here wants us to introduce ourselves to him. So my mom and dad did, asked for permission to live there. From that point on, he became our guardian and our friend. Which works out, because look at what I do now. Nothing can follow me home.
Right.
Some things will try. My neighbor's psychic. She's like, yeah, after you're done with the ghost tour, Joe, I just see everything you brought home lined up on the driveway, because they can't get in the driveway.
You're right.
Follow you right up to the edge of your driveway, and they just wait over there. And sometimes they go into her house.
That's cool. Another thing I've always been fascinated with, which I wasn't able to get too much information from anybody while I was over there, and it's about the forest beings. I spoke to a few people there about the forest beings there, but apparently it was quite a sensitive subject, that nobody would really want to talk to me about them.
I'm talking about Menehune?
Yes, that's the one. Menehune. I've forgotten the name for a while.
The small...
Yeah, little ones, yeah.
The small people, the dwarf lights. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was wanting to get into the bush to just sort of have a look for myself, but I was told, no, stay away, don't even dig into that sort of thing. I was quite interested, so I wanted to look into it further, but I was told to stay away and not delve into that.
Well, I mean, you can look, but they don't like to be seen at all. They're very shy. There's I don't have too much experience with them because they're very shy. Even families who for generations and generations, it said, Glenn Grant wrote about it, they would feed the Menehune. They would, on certain nights, you would know when the Menehune were coming, and they would prepare a feast for it, walk the feast out to the forest, and then come back in their house and pick up the dishes the next morning. The Menehune still wouldn't show themselves to them. Every now and then I come across an isolated case where somebody claims to have seen one, but that's really isolated. My own personal experience was on the tour at the Pali Lookout, actually. We had this older lady on the tour. We're walking up to the lookout, and she was like, I forget who I think she might have been by herself, but either way, she ended up by herself, because she was like, stop touching me, and we're in a group, right? So she's thinking someone's poking her. So and everyone's like, I'm not touching you. She grabs her cane and starts swinging it. After the third time, something keeps touching her, and so nobody would stand near this lady, right? They gave her the 6-foot rule, right? And nobody would go near her, and something still kept touching her. While she was doing this, while she kept complaining that something was touching her, somebody took a picture, and the picture was this little blur of fast movement about knee-high right by her. And at the same time the picture was taken, she jumped and said there was something right there. That was the closest experience I've had to a Menehune that I could think of,
Right. Because it's one of those sort of little entities that I've heard mixed descriptions of. Some say that it's a hairy little forest creature. Some say that it's more of a fairy sort of type entity. Some say it's more of a spiritual ghost type entity. So I'm not too sure.
I've heard the whole range of it too. I've heard they're not real. I've heard they're actually the Marquesians, because they believe that the Marquesians, they inhabited Hawaii before the Tahitians came, right? Before the bigger Polynesians came. They were the first ones here, and so when the bigger Polynesians came, they went to go hide in the mountains. And so they'd sneak out, and then, of course, they were smaller. That's where the legend of the smaller people came. I also heard people saying that in like what they were told was in the old days, some people would ask about, it was a language thing, right? Like, oh, who built this big ancient temple? Because the Menehune were said to build the heiaus, temples, right? Which would usually take a century to make by man. They would do it overnight. So the Hawaiians were trying to describe the Menehune had built it overnight. And they used the word like they were small. And so people were like, oh, they were small, like really small. And then the Hawaiians started laughing, and they're like, yeah, they were like 2 feet tall, 1 foot tall, like that. So, but I don't know, who knows, right?
Yeah.
They've been described by people who have seen them as small people.
Yeah, I'm totally intrigued by
like
it.
that, like
yeah. There's not
like
too much online. There's everything that's online about them is quite mixed, and I'm quite fascinated by it.
But even how much of it is actually Menehune and how much of it is something manifesting as one because that's how they're perceived, I can't figure that out. If I think this is when I think of Menehune, I think of there's a water company, water bottles, right? Menehune water. I think about a little brown guy with a little the king's cape on and his helmet on, and carrying a little bottle of water on his shoulder. That's what I think of with the Menehune, and so they might appear to me like that. Who knows? But they look like small people. They don't have stunted arms and legs like dwarf. They're like just miniature, fully proportionate adults.
Fascinating. Okay, Joe, I better get going. Really good to talk to you, mate. I'm keen to get back over there. I'm going to do it. We're going to come back over. Whether it's in 1 year or 2 years, we're going to do it. And so hopefully all the people that I met last time will be around. And do you see many of them? Do you still hang out with them? Or?
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Most of them. We're still around. I think you met Guy.
Yeah.
Japanese guy.
Yep.
That guy, maybe Obake Hunter?
Yep, I think so, yeah. I think so, yeah. I didn't really talk too much while I was there. My style is kind of just to observe. I observe and I just sort of watch how other people do things.
And you mean
this time around, I'll be more talkative. This time because this time I know. Next time I know you guys now. So we've had 5 years to chat over the internet and all that. So I get more involved. Okay, Joe. Nice talking to you. And
all right, Mark. You too, bro.
And we'll stay in touch. And have you got a website? Or have you got a website or anything?
Nah, Facebook, Hawaiian Hauntings Facebook group. That's about it.
Hawaiian Hauntings. Okay, I'll put a link up or something.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I'll catch you later, eh? Thanks a lot.
All right, brother. Stay safe.
Bye bye.
Aloha.